Hello, Million Cat Challengers and supporters. Welcome back. We are so happy you could join us today for our fourth mini Webby in a series that's running every Thursday all the way until November 1st. Today we'll be talking about how important the power of wholeheartedly believing in your mission is, which is why we want to stop and take a moment to thank Maddie's Fund for believing in all of us. Without your continued support and unwavering belief in a better day for homeless animals and the people who care for them, not only would this webinar not be happening, but the Million Cat Challenge might not exist. Thank you, Maddie's Fund, for always believing in all of us. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that in an effort to respect your time and our promise to keep these webinars to 30 minutes or less, we hold all the questions until the end. That does not mean you should wait until the end to ask them. You'll forget. Please send them as they pop up in your mind, and we'll queue them up for Karen in the end. Speaking of Karen, Dr. Karen Hill Shepard pursued a career in veterinary medicine because of her passion for animals. She is a 1992 graduate of Auburn University's College of Veterinary Medicine. Until she accepted her current position as director of Huntsville Animal Services Municipal Shelter in the fall of 2002, Karen practiced small animal medicine and surgery. Huntsville Animal Services finally achieved a 90% live release rate in 2015. Woohoo! The foundation of the community's success was the creation and funding of low-income pet sterilization program in 2008, which lowered annual shelter intake from 10,000 to 5,000 animals. By adding a community cat diversion program, lowering adoption fees, and, I love this, being transparent, the shelter staff is now fully engaged with the community. The ongoing goal is to continue to improve in order to save every life possible. Dr. Hill Shepard completed a year-long Maddie's University of Wisconsin-Madison Shelter Medicine, UC Davis Correct Shelter Medicine Fellowship, which provides shelter veterinarian fellows with additional training to help them deliver life-saving knowledge and services to our nation's homeless pets. But I know Dr. Shepard as a Million Cat Challenge rock star and dropper of knowledge bombs all the time. So without further ado, take it away, Karen.
Great. Well, thank you for that introduction, and I just have to say real quickly, again, how much I love Maddie's Fund and all that they've done, and they also are a huge sponsor of the Shelter Medicine Fellowship that has been so dynamic in our everyday life here in Huntsville, Alabama at Animal Control. So I'll just jump into my presentation. I just want to say it's an honor to be asked to speak about the Million Cat Challenge. When I received an email from Julie Levy, and she was asking if I could be a part of this little 15-minute power presentation, I just was, giddy with excitement. And turns out, like you mentioned earlier, Mandy, is so much of our success has been that we really believed in the program. It took some time, but we wanted to believe, and then as time went on, by believing, our message was really connecting with our customer service. So this is my family. I've been here 16 years. I loved being a small animal veterinarian and practitioner. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't enough. And what I really wanted is I wanted to save lives. And fortunately, the job position to be the director of Huntsville Animal Services came open, and I interviewed. It was an awkward situation. I didn't understand much about sheltering. I don't think many of us did back 16 years ago. But I was really fortunate because I had that DVM degree. They assumed that I might know a lot about shelter medicine and running a shelter, and so I was able to get the job. But this is my family here. All the dogs in a little wheelbarrow. My husband gave me this wheelbarrow for Christmas. And I put my dogs all in it that next day and took their picture because it was the only way I could get them to stay in one spot, not very well trained. But the dog in the front left-hand corner is Coco. She was an owner surrender here at Huntsville Animal Services at 15, and I've recently lost her at the age of 20. And then going counterclockwise is Rat Dog, Marmot, the Cocker Spaniel is Bunny, and then the little face in front is Squirrel. So you can see I have a little family of rodents there. And I just love my dogs. Of course, they all came from Huntsville Animal Services. They're just special. And I have a lot of support. I have a wonderful husband who, on his way home this day, and this picture was taken a few years ago, it was another dog that we owned, or she owned us, a grandmama dog, the white dog in the top right-hand corner. And she brought her home thinking we may only have a couple months with her. Blood work had shown that she had some renal disease. But anyway, she ended up living with us for 2 years and had great quality of life. But every day or every couple days, my husband would stop and get McDonald's chicken McNuggets and feed them to her to get her to kind of boost her appetite. And you can see what all the other dogs thought about that. I had 2 or 3 foster dogs in the picture and then a lot of my little dogs. But, of course, this is a Million Cat Challenge presentation, and so this is my personal cat. I have 3 cats, and this is one. His name is Smoke, and he's just a beautiful cat. He's the coolest cucumber and does really great with all the foster dogs and the personal pets I have. And I used to foster cats and kittens all the time, but after embracing all the initiatives of the Million Cat Challenge, I'm just going to be really honest with you. You've probably heard this before, but we just don't have near the number of cats in our shelter, and our foster home program is just so dynamic and so well run. We're just rarely do we need the director to jump in or even staff members to jump in and foster because we have such a good program. And so I love cats. I've always adored them. I love that we're saving our live release rate on our cats is so well, and it just was a really tough thing for a long time, not being able to save all our cats. So here's just a little kind of brief snapshot of what's happened in my shelter in just a very short period of time. And it's hard to look at 2013 and even years further back because we sadly we weren't a life-saving facility for cats. And I'm still struggling with dogs. But as you can see, as 14, and we started implementing all the programs available for to improve your live release and also the Million Cat Challenge, you can see how much our progress has been made. And the last 3 years have been just fabulous, that the only cats that we have had to euthanize are cats that were so severely injured or cats that truly were terminal at the very end of their lives. And we hope that that trend will continue. One of the interesting things is you'll see we kind of spiked a little bit up with intake, but most of those cats, as the last few years that spiked slightly, it's just because more people know we have resources for them, and so we've just been seeing more kitty cats that they don't end up staying in the shelter. They just get TNR'd or SNR'd. So I just love this billboard. We have an advocacy group here in Huntsville. They're called No Kill Huntsville. And another just a tidbit of information about Huntsville, Alabama, which is in the northern part of the state, is back after World War II, we were involved in building the rockets that carried man to the moon, and then we've been involved with the space shuttle. But anyway, this was a billboard that they put up, and I just thought it was so cute. Saving shelter pets isn't rocket science, which kind of links back into when Julie Levy, one of the co-founders of Million Cat Challenge, emailed me. What she wanted is she said, hey, is there any way that you can share some really interesting or neat programs that you are providing at your shelter where you're combining these unique programs based on our 5 initiatives of the Million Cat Challenge along with good customer service? And so I went and started asking. I was like, oh, sure, I really want to help. I want to, be involved in the presentation at Expo. And so I went to multiple staff members and I said, hey, this was what Julie Levy asked. And where are some ways where we're really doing good customer service care with some, unique approaches to these initiatives of the Million Cat Challenge? And my staff kept saying, when people find a kitten, but it's not quite 2 pounds, we teach them how to foster it until it's 2 pounds. Or, when somebody finds a mama cat and baby kittens, we try to turn them into the, into the foster until the mom has weaned the kittens and the kittens are old enough to come to be adopted at the shelter. Or, we found a community cat and we're not sure who owns it. And somehow, we talk to them and we say, no, you just need to take it back to your neighborhood because it's already spayed and neutered, and, we send it back. So my staff kept telling me all these things. I said, well, that's not anything interesting. I mean, that's what the program is. That's what the program is. So my staff continued on and said, well, you know what's really changed? It's the citizens in our community. Because when we first started this 2-3 years ago, nobody wanted to do the foster finder, and nobody wanted to take the cat back to the neighborhood and, just let it walk back home. And nobody wanted to spend the time investing in trapping their community cats to bring them in for us to spay and neuter them. So what happened? How did our community change? And my jaw hit the floor. I just was listening to them. Multiple people had told me this, and I looked at all of them and individually, and I said, "Oh my goodness, y'all don't understand. Our community didn't change. You did. You changed, and I know exactly how you changed." And because I know that when I came here 16 years ago, if I'd had the ability and the knowledge and the financing to do the program today, then as we are today, I know our community wanted to save the lives of the community cats. We just didn't know how to say it, and we didn't believe in it ourselves. So this is a pie chart you've probably all seen, but the words you use are significant, but such a tiny amount when you compare it to the tone of your voice and your body language. And so what I sat and explained to my staff as they were telling me how the city of Huntsville and Madison County, how all the citizens had changed and decided all of a sudden they wanted to save cats' lives, what I told them is, guys, it's you. Y'all now know and believe and have the confidence that if you share these programs and these life-saving methods to this person that's holding that mama cat and kittens that they just want to get rid of and, leave at the shelter, or that little bitty kitten or that community cat, y'all now show with your facial expression and your tone of voice and the way your body moves when you're talking to them and the openness and the encouragement you have, y'all sell that program now because you believe in it, and you know that most of those people are going to agree to be a part of a life-saving movement. So it's just really amazing. Now, I just want to briefly say, when you talk on the phone, which we do a lot of phone consultations, you lose your body language, so in the eye contact and your smile, but you don't lose that tone of voice. And this is where sometimes the scripts are really important, but you have to remember these scripts, you have to believe it in your heart. You can't just blah, 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 go through it. And I'm sure you've all, the example I would use here, you've probably all been on a sales call where someone's trying to sell you something, and you can tell the difference between the person that's just reading line by line by line versus the person who really believes in it and can follow through with that script. You can hear them smiling. You can hear that they're really engaged in what they're sharing. And so you've got to remember when you're talking on the phone to be a little more animated with your voice. So you got to believe these initiatives work. Your community wants to save these cats. It's not unique to Huntsville, Alabama. It's not unique to these places that are saving 95 and 96% of their cats. It is everywhere. People want to save them, and they want to be involved, and they love helping us turn our community where, sadly, like I said, we used to euthanize almost every one of our cats, and we used to get so many more than we do now. But now we're able to save almost every last one of them, and every one that the ones that have not been saved are the ones that are suffering. So just to say it, you can't get discouraged. You have to be half full and not half empty, because the very day I was putting this presentation together, we had two situations where someone absolutely would not continue to take care of the precious little kitten on the left, which is about a pound kitten. And it probably needed a little bit better of a foster home. So we just called someone on our own deck, and she came. She's fostered a lot of these little youngsters a lot for us. And I love one of my coworkers, Johnny's over her, left shoulder, photobombing that precious kitten. I gave him the hardest time about that. And then to the right is a very scared mama cat with 3 little kittens. And it was so crazy because we've worked with this woman that brought these cats in, and she does a lot of, TNR, but she absolutely, I don't know what was going on with this cat and kittens, but she would not work with us on those. So we took those in, and we were able to go ahead and move, spay the mom right away, and spay and neuter all the babies and move them up. But normally we would have liked them to be a little bit bigger before we took them in. So, and this is my last story, and just an encouragement. Precious picture of a client with this little kitten, and I happened to be walking through, going to Cat World one day, and she was there trying to turn this little kitten in. And she said, we like him. We really kind of wanted to keep him. My friend found him and gave him to me. But my cat, Nala, was making sounds like I've never heard in my life. And we just can't keep him because Nala is like acting like a fool. And those sounds that she's making are just really scary to me. So the kitten's got to go. And I was weighing the kitten and looking him over, and he's super healthy, and he was about, maybe quite at 1.5 pounds, and we could have taken him in at 1.5 pounds because he was so healthy. But I said, well, Nala's just really upset, and those sounds are pretty normal, but yes, they're scary. Do you have like a spare bedroom or a bathroom where we can set up food, water, and litter box, and the kitten can just gain a couple more ounces, and then we go ahead and give his first vaccine, and then when he comes back in 2 weeks, we can boost him. He'll get adopted right away. He'll be ready to get neutered. Just telling her the whole story. And of course she went, well, as long as keeping him in another room will make Nala not upset. We don't want to, hurt her feelings, and we don't want her hurting the kitten. And those sounds were really scary. I'll do it. So 2 weeks passed. She came back in. I just happened again. I am the director, so a lot of times I am in my office, but I'd much rather be out running around with seeing the pets and stuff. But I just happened to be there, and I went, and I said, oh, you came to bring him back for his booster shots and, us to neuter him. And she said, well, you know what? And I said, yeah, I kind of know what. And it was, she wants to keep him. So we're going to boost his shots and get him neutered, and we got all that set up. And, of course, the funny part of the story is everybody knows what she named him because her cat at home was Nala, so he's a little boy. So, of course, she named him Simba. And those are the half-full stories you have to remember when you have things that don't go your way, so to speak, and you have to do intakes on cats. But anyway, we're just so pleased with being a part of the Million Cat Challenge, and we love saving these animals' lives. And this presentation is to remind you that these programs work, period, end of story, no questions. It's just a matter of you getting your heart and your head in the game and knowing that you're going to find all those bright spots out there in your community, and you're going to be super successful and save all these cats. So that's the end of my presentation, and if anyone has questions, I'd love to answer some questions.
Such a simple and powerful reminder. Thank you so much. I remember it wasn't long ago you were posting in the discussion group, and you were saying how community was coming forward and really just rallying, and somebody asked you, when did that really change? And you said, well, when we asked them to.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we kind of had the courage to ask, and it's just so important for us to remember that we make a lot of assumptions about what the community is and isn't willing to do, and half of it is just whether or not we believe in what we're asking them to do. So probably my very, very favorite thing about Million Cat Challenge and being able to say that we hit goal a year early is we know beyond a shadow of a doubt by measuring the success of all of these shelters, we have 1,148,129 witnesses that tell us this works. So it's powerful. Let's see here. You have some questions. Of course, the usual. Can we get those scripts? Love to share good scripts that work, and challengers always would like to not reinvent the wheel and use something that's working. So do you have any scripts you could share with us?
Sure, that'd be great. My email should be available, and if you'll email me, I would love to email those back to you.
That sounds great, and then we'll post them right along with this presentation so everyone has access to them if you're okay with that.
It'd be great.
So this is a great question. Did you have any formal communication training with your staff, particularly those on the phone? Did you notice a point when they were really turning, or was that an effort to help them practice this positive communication that you're discussing?
You know, I would love to say that we had some really active training. We often, I feel like we put out fires all the time, and so we just were on-the-fly training, and a lot of, initially, the supervisors would end up having to take the phone and do that conversation, and we were awkward with it. But over time, through listening to each other and building confidence, it became culture, basically, that we were surprised when people didn't join with the life-saving efforts. So I think that having a more structured training program and going through that the pie chart with people and reminding them. I even know for people on the phone, a veterinarian that I know used to have a mirror beside everybody's phone and encourage them to look in the mirror before they answered the phone and smile, because you can hear that smile in people's voice. So great question, and I wished I had a better answer for you, but we just jumped in. And that tends to work pretty well for us here, because if I wait until I get all the training done or I feel like we're ready, I'm serious, it might be 2 years. So sometimes we're willing to make mistakes and just go ahead and jump in. And that has worked very well for us, just because we tend to be really understaffed. And we got to get busy saving lives, let's get it done.
Absolutely, and it allows for a culture of it's okay, here's an idea, let's try it. At least we tried it, and now we know.
Right.
But without those formal trainings, how do you get your team on board with implementing changes that are program-wide? It all staff meetings, just a nice conversation. When you have some people who aren't that interested or worried, how do you get them involved?
Well, if you're answering the phone, you're involved. If you're involved in animal intakes, you're involved. If you're part of the foster home program. So we just roll out a new policy, and we talk about it and answer questions. And a lot of people a lot of my staff with change they're scared. They're uncomfortable, they're scared, and they don't mean to be half empty about the changes, but it's their perception. And so I listen, and I say, well, let's just try it. We can do it. Come find me if you need help. Come find this other, co-manager if you need help. We're going to partner with you. I tell you, one of my favorite tricks is let's try it 2 or 3 months. And we'll revisit it. Right now we're changing to not having dog breeds, and everything's a small, medium, or large mix. And we had a supervisors meeting just about an hour ago, and just, this is hard. This isn't working. And I'm being naughty about my staff because I love my staff. But I'm basically, there just were a lot of negative type comments going around. And I said, we're just going to try this till December, and we're going to see if it does decrease our length of stay for, our dogs. And so I think it just helps people with the anxiety of that this isn't working, and if it's too hard, we can go back to the old way. But of course, we never, I would say out of 20 projects, one of them we reverse, where we keep 19 of them.
Reminds me of when we were kids and our parents said, you don't have to like it, just try one bite. That's it.
Yeah, that's so good. And then before you know it, you like broccoli.
That's right. So this next question is sort of along the same lines, and you have offered some great suggestions, but any very specific suggestions for getting animal care staff on board that's not quite believing in the no-kill mission or doesn't think it's possible?
That's tough because my transition toward no-kill took us a really long time because for us in Huntsville, Alabama, and I think it's pretty common for the southeastern part of the United States, is we just had a huge volume of animals coming in per 1,000 residents. So when I first started here, we were taking in close to 35 animals per 1,000 resident, and now we're down to 16 pets per 1,000 residents. And it's nice when you're in a no-kill community. A lot of times you connect. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 animals per 1,000 residents. So I don't know specifically what your intake is in your community, but what we did for a long time, and I regret the length of time it took us to really dynamically start saving lives. But what I had going for me is we started a low-income spay-neuter program, and it was a targeted spay-neuter program for our pet-owning population that really had, they needed access to resources for spay-neuter for rabies vaccines. And so we started for $5 a pet. We started providing the spay-neuter and rabies vaccination. So the client would pay us $5, and then we would use a veterinary vendor, hopefully their family veterinarian, and provide that surgery and the rabies for them. And so I got my population down from 10,000 to 5,000. And then we slowly ramped up. And we just know so much more now about how to save all the animals' lives that come into a shelter in 2018 compared to what we knew in 2008. And so we just started rolling the programs out that work. It's like the Million Cat Challenge. You just do the programs. You don't have to come up with the ideas. And so I think if someone's not on board, that's okay. Y'all just start, if you can, if you're the director or administrator role, you just start rolling out the programs. And I can't imagine anyone not being excited when lives are being saved. New ideas are hard for people, and if you've been euthanizing animals for a long time, I think it's hard sometimes to embrace some of these programs because you really felt like maybe when you were euthanizing the animals, you were doing the best thing for them because you didn't want them. One example would be is you didn't want to adopt them out for only $10 because then they might be in a home that's not the quality of home that you think they need. Well, we've gotten through that. We now do free adoptions. We do $10 adoptions. We do $35 adoptions. And we have learned that we are really happy with the quality of the home. So that list goes on, and I think people have to figure it out for themselves. They have to come to their own conclusions that it is working, and that saving lives is dynamic. And, I don't know. It's why I get up seriously, I just love this profession so much, and I'm so honored to be a part of it and know that the programs we're doing, other communities can do them.
That is such a fantastic answer. Seeing is believing. Sometimes you just have to live it to know it.
Yeah.
And you know a better day, and when you know better, you do better. It's so true. Great answer. Switching gears a little bit, Carrie has a pretty funny question. He wants to know, what do you do with that community cat that's very friendly and does not want to live outside, and it sits on people's doors? Trick or treat.
So if the neighbors are okay with it sitting on people's doors and somebody eventually starts letting it in and out and keeps it inside, I think it's fine. Every situation calls for a different answer. And, of course, one neighbor could bring the cat in, and the right answer would be let's just keep the cat and adopt it, through the shelter. And the other neighbor could bring it in, and we could say, just let it come in your house and hang out with you and then let it go back outside. And the other neighbor could come and decide they were just going to keep it indoor only. So I think we would direct that in, based on who brought it in, we would try to problem solve with them. It just, isn't it crazy? There's no right answers, so there's also no wrong answers. You just want to do what's best for the cat and the client.
Absolutely, and eventually that cat might find his right match, or maybe he just likes hanging out on porches. But he's doing all
yeah,
right.
And that would be, if it has an owner, obviously you want to try to work with the owner and see. But yeah, I agree. The cat's finding its own match. That's really adorable. That's what cats do, don't they?
That's exactly what they do. So tell us, do you count your TNR, RTF, barn cat numbers in your live release rate, or do you only count the cats that are adopted into homes, returned to owners, or sent to another rescue?
Yeah, we count every live release in our live release rate. So every cat, we don't send a lot of cats to barn homes. You know, we kind of think of that as a failure, but we definitely want to save their lives. But if they leave, you know, to be transferred to another home, so to speak, to go to a barn, that's counted. Whether they go to a rescue, that's counted. Whether they get adopted. Now, all those are broken down, and I can, if you want to email me, I can share, you know, how we do it. We followed the shelter pets count. I always say it wrong. Is it shelter pets count?
Shelter animals count.
See? Okay. Shelter animals count. We follow that guideline and rule in the way that we, you know, but every lot, you know, and on the contra, or the flip side, every pet that, unfortunately, if a pet dies while it's in foster care or dies here at the shelter, we hope that never happens, but it has happened, or if we do have to euthanize a cat, or if an animal somehow goes missing from, you know, escapes from the building or escapes from foster home, those all are counted, you know, as pets that were deceased. But that's just a national standard that we now have in shelter medicine. I mean, in the sheltering industry of how we count animals.
The data matrix. Thank you so much. Yes. So we are right here at 30 minutes, and we want to stay true to our promise, but we want to thank you for this important message today, and just a reminder to stop and believe and invite the community in to be our partners. And a reminder to everybody out there, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a green widget, and click on it, and that lets you know upcoming Webbies for next Thursday and the Thursday after. We're cruising along. We're only here till November 1st, so make sure you sign up for those last ones if you haven't already. Thank you for joining us for your lunch hour, your snack hour, your nap hour, whatever you're doing out there, and we will see you next Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your days.